Today I decided to make a turkey pot pie, and I decided to make most of it in the crock pot. So I decided to use celery, onions, carrots, and potatoes. Of course, you can use a frozen bag of mixed vegetables, just whatever you have on hand. You do not even actually have to put meat in this. If you don't have any meat on hand and you're trying to cut back, or you can use mushrooms. There's so many varieties that you can use in this. Okay guys, I did not get any refrigerated pie crust in my grocery order this week, so I'm using a Bisquick recipe that I found online. I will link it below, but for the bottom crust, it calls for 1 cup of Bisquick and 2 tablespoons of cubed up, chopped up butter. I'm just going to use my grater here and just grate 2 tablespoons of butter, and then you add some milk and form a dough ball, and then you just press it into the bottom of your pie pan. I'm just using my grater because I thought it'd be faster and easier than to cut the butter up into small pieces. So now I'm going to cut my butter into my Bisquick. And I'm just doing it in my pie dish just to save me some extra dishes to wash. Hopefully this will turn out. Of course, if you got a pastry cutter, you can do that. Or if you want to get out your food processor, you can do this in a food processor too to make your dough. I just don't want to get all that out and have to wash all that, and plus I don't have much counter space. Okay, now that we've got all of our butter cut in, I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of cold milk. And then I'm just going to try to mix this together and see if I can get a ball of dough formed, and then I'll go in with my hands. And then once you get the ball of dough formed, you just go in and you just press it down into your pie dish, and then you go ahead and put it in the oven on 400 for 5 minutes and give it like a little pre-bake, is what the recipe said. And then we'll add our filling and make a crust for the top of it. Here I've got my crust. It didn't come all the way up to the edges, but that's okay. Maybe it's the size of the dish I'm using. I'm not for sure. But anyway, I'm going to pop this into a 400-degree oven for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to start on my filling. Okay guys, so now we're going to start the filling for our pot pie. I have a little bit more than a cup and a fourth of broth that was left from my crock pot. I'm just using that. I just saved what was from the turkey that I cooked in the crock pot and the vegetables. So I have about 2 cups. So I'm going to use almost a half a cup of butter and almost a half a cup of Bisquick, or you can use flour to make your roux. So you're just going to mix those together and cook your flour in the butter for a few minutes. Now we got our flour cooked out, the raw flavor of the flour cooked out. So now we're going to add our broth that we have left from our turkey. Just going to add it all in, all the good flavor. And of course, if you just want to do veggie only, you know, you can use vegetable stock with vegetables. You don't have to put meat in your pot pie, or you can use chicken. You can use beef. As you can see, that is already starting to thicken up awesomely. I'm going to taste this and see if it needs any salt and pepper, and then I'm going to add about a teaspoon of poultry season to this. I'm going to add our poultry seasoning. I'm going to add some salt and pepper, because you want everything to be seasoned well, all the layers of your pot pie. I'm going to give that a mix. So here's where you can add in, like if you're going to use frozen vegetables, you know, frozen carrots, onions, potatoes, peas, corn. You know, if you're going to use a bag like that, you can go ahead and throw that in here. But I had some vegetables in the refrigerator that I wanted to use up, so I threw those in the crock pot with my turkey. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in my vegetables, and then I just shredded up or cut up my turkey into bite-sized pieces, and I'm going to add it all into this and get it well combined. Okay, so we're going to get all that combined. I just have potatoes, carrots, onions, and celery. And I think I'm going to add some frozen corn and peas to mine as well. And then in goes, if you're going to put meat in your pot pie, which I'm using turkey that I roasted in the crock pot. Get that mixed in. Okay, quick adjustment. I did not have any frozen peas or corn. I thought I did. I had frozen peas and carrots, but I already have carrots in it. But I did have some canned corn and canned peas, so I'm just going to throw a half a can of each into this. And I've already tasted it, and it doesn't need any more salt or pepper. Of course, if you wanted to make this meat-free, you could use mushrooms. I think would be really, really good in it as a substitute. Now I'm going to get this poured into my pie crust, and then we're going to make the top of the pie crust. For the top crust, you're going to have a tablespoon of melted butter, a half a cup of Bisquick. Mix that a little bit. And then you're going to pour in 1/3 cup of milk. Of course, I'm using oat milk. And this is going to be kind of like a thin, pourable dough. We're just going to pour this along the top of our pot pie. So you just want to keep working it until you get all the lumps out. Okay guys, change of plans. So when I mixed up the half a cup of Bisquick with the butter and the milk, it did not look like it would be enough to cover the surface of my pie dish. I know a lot of people do these in ramekins, so I went ahead and doubled the recipe. So I would make sure that we had enough to cover all of it. So now you're just going to pour it the best you can in a pretty thin layer along the top. And then you can kind of spread it out with the back of a spatula or a spoon. I'm trying to take my time here so I don't get too carried away and get it too thick or too thin, and make sure I still have enough to go over all the surface. So I'm going to go back around the edge a little bit. I'm just going to use the back of my fork instead of dirtying up another utensil. I'm just going to spread that out. Now we're going to pop this into a 400-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. All of my ingredients inside are already cooked, but if you're using frozen vegetables, and that's okay, they'll still cook in the oven in the 20 to 25 minutes. So here we're just going to cook the crust and brown the top until it's golden brown. So we were excited to try this. I should have let this sit in the pan a little bit longer to cool. It would have been a whole lot easier to get out. Nevertheless, we were hungry and wanted to try it. And of course, the first piece is always rough getting out. It was delicious. I loved that crust. I liked it so much better than the refrigerated pie crust. It kind of reminded me of a thin biscuit topping. I hope you guys make this and let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys are doing well.